Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back. Your ears do not deceive you. Culture Attack has returned, and it has been a long hiatus. And with a hiatus, it feels like, once again, what normally takes a couple of years to happen, all these events that have transpired so far this year, and the year's not even over yet. Like, to me, I'm just in shock with all the world events that have been going on. And yeah, we're here, and we cannot wait for this year to be done and over with. Because this has been very waning, very tiring. Feels like we've been through like the gauntlet, just been through like Vietnam tour. But I'm Ruben Prime, your host, and of course I have my co-host. I'm never alone. He is Drew Yari. How you doing, my friend?
I'm tired, physically and everything else, but I'm ready to do the show. We haven't done this in a while, and I'm pretty pumped.
Yeah, it's been a minute. It's just, again, life for me got in the way, and it's just one of those things where you got to put certain things on the back burner. But we got to do these as much as we can, because like so many world events have transpired, and a lot of TV shows, movies have came out. They came and went, and and the big enchilada. And yes, I'm hungry, but the big enchilada we're gonna get into was the assassination of a political commentator on the right, and his name is Charlie Kirk. And there's two reasons why I'm bringing this up. Basically because it was literally seen by thousands of people, live, that were there in attendance at that college, and also seen by millions of people on social media, because social media tends to spread things like wildfire. So it's definitely a has cultural significance. And also because in the Matrix, because we're definitely living in the Matrix, living in a simulation, there's this movie that came out by one of our favorite actors, myself and Drew Yari. We talked about Nicolas Cage so glowingly. A lot of his films are a cult classic, but he was in this film called Snake Eyes, and that has a lot of significance and tells, call it predictive programming, whatever, but there's a lot of significance in the certain names, certain characters, and in the film, parallel to what happened on September 10th. So we're going to talk about that, since it has our boy Nick Cage, and of course the cultural significance that it had. And we have to talk about a few movies, TV shows that came and went, since there were a couple of them that came out during the summertime, and there's stuff on the pipeline for the rest of the year as well as next year. So we're going to talk about that fairly quick as we can. But yeah, of course, you can follow me at Mr. Room Prime on X if you want. I don't know why you would, but if you want, you can. And of course, on YouTube, you can follow me at Culture Attack, our official YouTube channel for the show. And yeah, you can follow Drew at the Y Experience on X, Twitter, if you want. Again, your choice. I'm not your father. And yeah, what you said, Drew?
No, I was chuckling at what you said.
Yeah. Hey, like again, like just freedom of choice. Like if you want to, it's fine. If not, like I ain't got a gun to your head. But do that as you will.
But I'll say if you want to, that's fine. If not, then fuck you.
That Drew said that, not me. Normally, I'm the bad cop, but I'm roles are reversed this time. Because normally I'm the one that's saying everything is bad, everything sucks. But these past couple months softened me a bit. I'm this troubling times.
Now I'm going to be the mean one. I'm going to say everything sucks. I'm going to say everything is bad and awful and fucking. Yeah.
Well, hey, like there's a double turn in wrestling terms. There's a double turn, but yeah, I mean, I guess because after a while, like it gets kind of annoying to just like say that everything is bad. Like when when you realize there's pattern recognition, you come to grips with like it is what it is. Don't consume that. And I think that's what I needed. Just take a break. Not watch all this garbage. Just decompress. But I am gonna be watching a lot of this stuff because we're gonna try and do the show more often. And this intro and everything's just been so disjointed. But it's been a while. It's like riding a bike. A little tricky at first, but I get the balance, I get the rhythm, I get the groove. But yeah, like we're gonna talk about the whole Charlie Kirk thing and the Snake Eyes film, correlation, and films that came out so far, and just I'll have Drew here give his thoughts on what he thought about these films, because got a few things to say I've been holding out on, but wasn't able to. But yeah, let's leave the Charlie Kirk stuff and the Snake Eyes film for last, since it's been a while since we've done this show, and you've been itching to do this show. Let's talk about Superman.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about Superman. So I saw a good amount of it between Fantastic Four and Superman. I thought Superman was the better film, but when it's again, like it's like one is slightly better than the other one when the tier isn't not that high of a tier to cross, but I did think that Superman was the better film, even though I wanted Fantastic Four to be good, but I thought that it was a superior film, and they're already in talks of creating a sequel, which is pretty good. I hope that it's
already been announced.
It's been announced. Yeah. Okay. So it's been announced, and
yeah. James Gunn, he announced it on Instagram, and he already showed the script, or he showed the cover of the script on Instagram.
Okay. So yeah. So that's good. So yeah, they already got a script going. They announced it, so that's good. So my question is, and you've probably discussed this on other shows, but what did you think of Fantastic Four, First Steps, and as well as Superman, James Gunn's Superman? Your takeaways. What did you like about both films, or you didn't like about both films? And yeah, what are your overall thoughts?
I guess I'll start off by saying I like Superman better. I thought I've never been the biggest Superman guy, but and I grew up loving Smallville. I thought this was kind of my gateway into liking and really loving the character because, in the world we live in, we need hope. That's like, fictional. And I've seen people on social media saying that watching this film, it made them want to be a better person because, there's that line in the movie saying that kindness is punk rock.
Yeah.
And, Henry, I thought Henry looked the part, and granted he had bad writing, but he didn't really knock it out of the park. And I also thought he was too stoic to be Superman. This new dude, David Cornsweet, I think he really fits the mold because he just seems like a dude. It's the first time that Superman's ever been a dude.
Right.
Where he even says dude. It's probably the first time I heard Superman say dude. Like when he's talking to Crypto, he's like, dude, what the hey, dude?
Yeah.
And I'm like that seems like a guy I want to be best friends with. Like, he's very likable, he's charming, doesn't have a bad bone in his body, doesn't swear. Like, he says things like what the hey, and oh shucks, I can be such a jerk sometimes. And the film wasn't, I wouldn't say 100% perfect, but it's a love letter to comic book fans. It's probably the most comic book film I've seen in a while. It's probably the most comic book thing that James Gunn has ever done in a while. I mean, I think he even said that in an interview recently. It's everything you need out of a Superman film, out of a comic book film. It's Superman the way he should be done. And everybody did a great job. Like David Cornsweet, he's Clark Kent, he's Superman. Nicholas Hoult is probably the best Lex Luthor since Michael Rosenbaum, most definitely. No disrespect to Gene Hackman, I know that's everyone's Lex Luthor, but I'm just gonna call a spade. Like, I think he was a little bit too goofy to be Lex Luthor. His Lex was more over the top and goofy and comical. Lex Luthor, when you think of Lex Luthor, you think of somebody who's on par, on like a genius, sense with Superman. And Rosenbaum fit that, and Nicholas Hoult fit that. And again, Crypto, we all love dogs. We all know how dogs can be, and that's pretty much how a dog would be if it had superpowers. And just some very good heartfelt moments. I mean, the moment at the end when says, when he's like going to the Fortress of Solitude, and Gary goes, "Would you like me to play the videos of your parents because it helps soothes you?" And instead of it being his birth parents, it's his actual parents. I'm like, oh. So I definitely do think Superman is the better film, and I also think it's probably the more talked about film as far as comic book films go. Fantastic Four, I liked it, but I didn't love it. Okay. I was probably close to loving it. My biggest problem with the film is that it felt incomplete sometimes, where the team mainly, I thought Sue was great. I thought she was obviously the standout. Pedro almost seems like a hot button, topic to talk about, Pedro Pascal. And it's weird because he's an actor. And he hasn't done anything like wrong. He's just in too many films. I thought missing from him. And that's kind of the story of everyone in the film, mainly the team with Pedro or Reed, Johnny, and Ben Grimm, where it felt like they were giving someone something, like someone would do or say something interesting, and then it would immediately rush to another scene. And I really do think this movie could have benefited being longer, because it was about an hour 50. And I do think you could have really had more time with these characters and made them probably more interesting than they were, besides Sue. Everyone did have good chemistry. I thought Reed and Sue had good chemistry. The guy who played Johnny, I like the actor. I don't see him as Johnny. I see nice young man. I don't see womanizer, stuck up douche, celebrity guy Johnny. Like Chris Evans, for as much as you want to rag on, the movies from the 2000s, he was a good Johnny. Chris Evans surprisingly plays a douche well, and he was also Captain America.
It's funny, like you mentioned that, because it takes a really good actor to be able to play different roles, and Chris Evans definitely embodies that. So it's funny when you bring up this actor and the Fantastic Four film, in the new one, that he wasn't he wasn't Johnny Storm. Like he didn't have that character, that womanizer, the celebrity, the douchebag kind of, like he was like too nice. Like, he was just like trying to play one rather than having that, like being able to play that well. Like he was trying to, actors, they're pretending, but what makes a good actor, phenomenal actor, phenomenal actor, is how like they're able to portray a character, and not everyone can do that. People can pretend, everyone can pretend, but when you like get immersed in that role, that is a hallmark of a phenomenal actor. So yeah. And then no, you're 100% right. Our boy Richie as the Thing, again, thought he was good, but I wanted more time. I wanted more time with that character to really get into this psyche of, he was once a man, now he's this like hideous, rock monster thing. Granted, everyone loves and adores him, but there's that inner battle of like, I don't look like me anymore. I don't look like a man anymore. I'm this thing, quote unquote, pun intended. And visually, I thought the movie was great. I thought the movie looked amazing. A lot of visuals and like CGI and Marvel lately had been kind of meh, to where if you can notice CGI, then that's a problem. If you don't notice it, then that means it's a good thing. And in this case, the CGI looked great, especially for that world, that 60s, kind of world where they didn't say 60s, but it was pretty much the 60s. And it looked amazing. It's one of those things of like, I would love to see more of it. I also thought the girl who played Silver Surfer was great. I thought, she was definitely a standout in the movie, and that was a hot button topic too, of like, they're making Silver Surfer a woman. My Silver Surfer is supposed to have a penis, and it's like, I don't know what you're looking for, bro, but sure. And yeah, there's a shallow ball in the comics, people. But anyhow, I thought she was great. I'm at the point where I'm just like, I'd rather see her in the next movie than Norrin Rad, which I'm pretty sure there is going to be a Norrin Rad. Yeah. She was good, especially the fucking CGI for her. I thought it looked amazing. I thought it looked beautiful. Yeah. That's one of the few things with this movie that not only, like, I love the retro aesthetic, like, like the futuristic aesthetic that, people in the 70s and in the 60s, like, imagine the future would be. Like, I like that. And like the whole, like the way that the film was shot, like the color gradient, I like that. And that's like one of the things I'll give to Fantastic Four First Steps, is just like how it was shot, the CGI, due to the fact that they have to, they had to film it, since the movie takes place, in the 70s, I believe, 60s, 70s. So it had to have that feel, like that retro futuristic Jetsons feel, which I love. Like, that was like one of the things I enjoyed about the film.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And then Galactus, I thought was great. I mean, this was Galactus the way he was supposed to be, not some like, storm cloud, whatever the fuck that thing was. Like this is the eater of worlds. Like, he looked like something out of a horror movie. He was legit, nightmare fuel. And again, great. Just again, the movie wasn't bad. You know, it was a pretty good movie. I gave it a 4 out of 5, and that's still a passing grade. And especially for, you know, the MCU trying to get back on track, it's still good. It's just I wanted more. I wanted more out of the characters. I wished Reed was more interesting. I wish Johnny was more Johnny and a little bit more interesting. I mean, and the same thing with the Thing. And it's weird because they all have good moments, but there's nothing about them that makes me go, oh, that's Reed. You know, what's his name from the 2000s? I thought he looked like Reed, but I thought he was too much of a dork.
Yeah.
And that was kind of that was always the problem with like how people would try to write Reed Richards is people who aren't smart don't know how to write for smart people.
Yeah, that, you know, it's a funny thing. Like, always, like, again, you bring up another good point. Like, I always thought about that. Like, smart people trying to write for smart, you know, not a smart person, smart character. Like, I guess because they overanalyze. I guess that's like someone that overthinks a lot. Not that I'm saying I'm smart.
Right.
I'm nowhere near Mr. Fantastic's like intellect, but just like overthinking. I can definitely get why. I absolutely get why smart people have trouble writing smart characters. You know, for the smart people, and that's because they overanalyze. They will do it to the point that they will overlook certain things, and we definitely saw that with the earlier, you know, Fantastic Four, and especially with Reed Richards. You know, I think the Reed Richards from you know, Doctor Strange and, you know, and Mom, Multiverse of Madness, I definitely think that was a perfect Reed Richards in terms of looks, but you know, he does give out Black Bolt's, you know, secret, and you know, Wanda kills him. That was annoying because, like, why would you do that? But that film, I can tear that film a new asshole because I was so looking forward to that film. Anyway, but yeah, like, definitely, like, you bring up a good point with, you know, trying to write for characters like Reed Richards. Like, it's they how they get the genius of the character, but not the look. So I definitely think that, I mean, with Pedro Pascal, I have Pedro Pascal fatigue, especially during the summer. Now, you know, he's like taking.
We all do.
Yeah, it's just like he was cool. He was cool in the Nick Cage film and a few other projects, but then I don't know if you listen to, like, you know, rap music, you know, especially like during like the early, like the mid 2000s, late 2000s, like with Lil Wayne and Drake, when they were like literally on every song, they were on every feature. And at first, like, yeah, you know, Lil Wayne, Drake. Now, you know, at that point, it got to a point where I'm like, okay, worn out, you're welcome. Your voice doesn't sound unique because you're on everything. Like, you're overexposed. You know, we're tired. And I mean, there were people that still didn't mind, but you know, the majority of people were like, we're done. Like, stop it. Like, you're on everything. Chill out. So it's like the same thing with, you know, Pedro, and it's like I don't want to, you know, dislike the guy, but it's like when you're literally in everything, it's like, yeah. And then all the other stuff, but you know, all the cultural, political stuff is like at the end of the day, you're an actor. Don't put yourself in that frame. You're an actor. Not to say that you don't have an opinion, but I think when a lot of actors, when they get too political because they feel like they're, you know, fighting for the little guy, but then you're, you know, a high paid actor, so you live in a bubble and you think that you're considering the little guy, you're trying to fight the good fight, but no, like, you're in your own bubble. You don't know the struggle for the average person because you literally have assistants doing your stuff. Because I work at a job where I deal, like, not directly, but we have VIPs that order stuff, and they literally have like assistants buying their stuff and calling the company, hey, I want this stuff for free, I want this dress, this that for free. So they're in a different world. Like, I can't, how would me or you sound calling a company and say, hey, I want this free stuff because I'm me? They're gonna laugh at you and hang up on you. So in terms of that, that privilege, which is invisible to people who have it, we're not the same. So when I see actors trying to, like, stand up for the little guy, quote unquote, like, it just comes off very fake. And, that's why I notice with a lot of these actors nowadays, like, stay in your lane, you're an actor, act, stop pretending that the struggle, because you don't. Like, you don't. But that's I'm off my soapbox.
I mean, yes and no. I get where you're coming from. If it's like, Dwayne, well, I don't want to say, well, I don't know. I guess like fill in the blank of like any famous actor who tries to do the whole, I know what it's like to struggle. And it's like, maybe once upon a time, but not anymore, dude. Like, you don't know what it's like to have credit card debt or student loan debt or having to worry about, putting gas in your car or what you're going to eat tonight. Like,
picking between the two, either, paying your rent or paying for groceries, It's real.
And I mean, there are some actors who are very much like not Hollywood at all, who are very like, they're the person next door. They're the guy you see down the street. I know, was it Glenn Powell? He's like the biggest star in Hollywood, but he's like really not a Hollywood guy at all. Jeremy Renner is probably another good example of a Hollywood actor who doesn't really care about being famous. Like, he just wants to do the work and that's it.
Keanu Reeves, another one.
Yeah, Keanu is, like, again, perfect example. The guy takes the fucking train. Mm-hmm. Like, he lives in an apartment in New York. Like, he doesn't really care about being famous. So in some ways I get it, where some people who try to overdo it, but at the same time, it's like, I get it in a sense where, like, you have this platform and you want people to be more aware of shit. So I get that. But yeah, just when it comes to politics, I just, my focus immediately just goes to like something else that I'm more interested in. Like, politics is one of those things where it's just like, in reality, I probably should care more about it, but I really don't, because what am I going to do about it? What am I going to say about it that's going to bring any awareness to it? Someone like a Pedro Pascal, who's like, who's the internet's boyfriend for a reason. When he says things, like, stop being bullies, don't hate or whatever. I'm like, okay, I see that your heart's in the right place and you seem like a nice guy. But at the same time, it's like, I don't really think you should be using that message when you're just promoting a movie. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, if you're at a Pally event or you're promoting some type of movie or TV show, just promote the thing and do the other activist stuff like on the side. Yeah. That's kind of how I see it. I don't want to mix work with my other work. If that makes sense. Like, I don't go to my regular government job and try to promote the experience. Yeah. Like, I don't do that. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things of like, it's one of the things like, I get it. Your heart's in the right place, but just kind of know when to like, I guess, use one and not the other at the same time. That's kind of how I see it.
Yep. No, I definitely agree with you there. Like, it's all about people being genuine, and my thing is with Hollywood, I just noticed that there are not a lot of genuine people. Like, some of the people that we mentioned that are famous and we watch them a lot, they're the minority. That whole culture, no pun intended, is just filled with people that just have that like actual privilege, like actual, because you hear all the talk all the time, all privilege people have privilege, but all those people have actual like privilege, and they're not aware of it because they've been in that boat for so long. And again, all power to them. They got to where they got because of like their talent, who they know. But at the same time, it's like you cannot understand of the struggle of the common man because you haven't been a common man for the longest. So when they try to do the whole activism shtick, like, it doesn't sound genuine. Like, it sounds something like PR told them to say, or something that they have heard. So that's like my thing. Like, there are genuine people out there, but a lot of times a lot of it comes out disingenuous, and like it comes off very just like, it's like, oh, we're you're the help kind of thing, and I dealt with that. Yeah, I dealt with that, but I learned to like shrug it off. But just seeing it and just like, yeah. But all help aside, I really thought that Superman was the better film. We still have, I believe we have like one film before Avengers come out.
Spider-Man,
yeah. Like I saw a YouTube video of the filming being done, and I don't know if it was someone had a concussion, and they had to like there was like a delay.
It was Tom.
Yeah,
it was Tom.
Yeah. And I heard that, I was like, damn, like, but I mean, if they push the film back by a month, it's not going to be the end of the world. That's like at most.
It was actually better now. He's about to go back to work.
Oh, nice. Okay. So that's good, because when we see, when we like hear concussions, especially like, you're a sports guy, I'm and also the wrestling guy, but I'm more of the wrestling side of things. Like, when we hear concussions, it's like oof, because like concussions weren't taken seriously until like the past like 15 years or so, give or take. So the fact that like when I hear someone getting concussion on a movie set or in the ring, or when I hear like my coworkers talking about sports and things like that, and they talk about injuries, I'm like, oof, because like it's real. Injuries are, especially injury to the head, it's no joke. So that's why like I was worried about Tom, but I'm glad that they're gonna start filming, because again, it's really no joke. Like, concussions, injuries to the head, it's serious. Like, to me, just seeing, with the infamous Chris Benoit and our favorite, Brian Danielson, the concussions that he had. And I believe even Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, like, I know they had concussions in the past. So I was like, yeah, it's real. But yeah, I'm glad. I'm intrigued. I'm really intrigued with the next Avenger film. Because I believe they wrapped up filming. Is that correct?
For Doomsday.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure they're going to do additional photography. I mean, we've talked about this before. So like, they usually do reshoots with anything.
Yeah.
It's just, it's usually for like whenever they weren't able to get anyone at the time of filming. So they'll do reshoots to bring certain people in, or if they want to like touch up something or do what I just mentioned, additional photography. In this case, this movie's not coming out until December of next year. So they wrapped up Doomsday pretty, I wouldn't say quick, but like there was that, thing going on where like they were filming and they didn't have a script.
Yeah.
They didn't even have like an ending, which worried me a little bit. 'Cause I'm like, like, what are we doing? But
that's concerning. Yeah.
Alan Cumming, who's coming back as a Nightcrawler, had confirmed, yes, we do have a script. We're good.
Okay.
So yeah, they finished Doomsday, and Secret Wars. I'm assuming is gonna start maybe next summer, if I had to guess.
Okay.
They're not filming back to back like they did with Infinity War and Endgame. So, which I guess in some ways is good, but I like the fact that they pushed it back to December, because originally they were both to come out in May, which that was concerning too. Because I'm like, oh, you're going to do this movie this quick? But no, they pushed it back into December, which I'm like, all right, good. This gives you enough time to fine tune everything out and make everything look good and crisp. But yeah, Doomsday, they did just finish wrapping for that one.
Okay.
And pretty soon they're going to do additional photography, which if I had to guess, I think that might take a little longer, being that the movie's going to come out in December.
Yeah. Good point. I mean, I'm still intrigued because, the Avengers films are, like, to me, like, the highlight of Marvel, and it's been a minute since we had, like, Endgame. In my opinion, I think Infinity War was one of the best, but Endgame had a good conclusion, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, like, definitely had a good conclusion. But nothing has topped Endgame, and I think it's for a reason. I mean, a lot of different factors, but definitely, like, nothing has, like, was able to, overtake or stand toe-to-toe with, with Endgame and even Infinity War. So we gotta wait and see with these next two films how they stack up, and hopefully, I mean, we're gonna get a lot of nostalgia. We're gonna get a lot of just a whole cast of characters. So I'm pretty I'm still intrigued, even though I'm usually the negative Nancy when it comes to Marvel, current Marvel. But I also, during the summer, like, I kind of went back and watched Ultron, the Age of Ultron, because do you play? Probably not, but I have to ask: do you play Marvel Rivals by any chance?
I do.
Okay, nice. Which we gotta play together soon. I've been playing Marvel Rivals, and when Ultron was released, he was like a support character, and you guys know I'm a big like MOBA, like Overwatch guy. Like, I used to play Overwatch. I play a little bit of I haven't played much of Overwatch 2 like recently, but I was playing Overwatch 2, and then until Rivals came out. But me playing Ultron made me go back and watch Age of Ultron again, and I was like, yo, like, this movie is not as bad as people were saying, because I was one of the ones that were like, oh, it's decent, but it wasn't like I guess our expectations were way too high. But going back, I was like, I like this movie like more now, and I guess it's just one of those instances where you gotta wait a while. It's like wine, like, you gotta let it age. I don't know if you're a wine drinker, but you gotta the longer the wine ages, the better it tastes. And I think with Age of Ultron, definitely, for me at least, definitely needed to be like in the bottle a little longer. And I enjoy it, especially the actor that voices Ultron, like phenomenal voice. Like,
No, good. Agreed.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you good. You go ahead.
No, so I do. I really did like Ultron, Age of Ultron. I think it's underrated. I can see why people didn't like it. I mean, aside from the forced Hulk and Scarlet, Black Widow relationship, I really did enjoy the movie. I thought it really created dissension that was needed heading into Civil War, and then eventually Infinity War. You had some good human moments, especially with Hawkeye. Like this was the Hawkeye movie.
Yeah.
And and he was, definitely self-aware, where he has that conversation with Scarlet Witch where he's like, we're on a floating island full of robots and I have a bow and arrow. None of this makes sense. Once you step out that door, you're an Avenger. Mm-hmm. And, I still get angry at the scene with Pietro where it's like, why is that fucking kid out there? Like, why is that random kid just randomly out there?
Right.
And then, Pietro has to, like, sacrifice himself. I'm like, God damn it, we could have had 2 Quicksilvers. They've never brought Aaron Taylor Johnson back to Marvel since then. I mean, he was Kraven the Hunter, but we don't talk about that. But I really did like Age of Ultron, especially Ultron. Like James Spader, he was basically Tony Khan, Jesus Christ, not Khan, Stark. He was Tony Stark's likeness. He was what Tony Stark would think. Thus, you had James Spader being really sarcastic and less, doom and gloom and, serious, where, he would just give these little quips of like, keep your friends rich and your enemies rich, and then you'll find out which is which.
Favorite line right there.
Yeah, very good fucking line. Or when he's talking to Cap, he's like, if I can literally project vomit, I would throw up in my mouth right now. And Tony says something, and he goes, this is going to be the part where I tell you exactly what my evil plan was. So I can, in some ways, I can see why people didn't like it. I think Ultron was rushed. It would have been nice if there was some build up to Ultron. But overall, I liked it. Vision coming in, being that motherfucker, and then lifting Mjolnir, which that got a huge pop out of the. I mean, less of a pop and more of just people going, "Oh fuck!"
Yeah. Yeah, that was definitely a moment right there.
Yeah, and also just other things were like the scenes where Scarlet Witch has everybody under a trance and they're all looking at their greatest fears, and Cap is going back to war that he never won, and I keep calling her Scarlet. Well, her name is Scarlet, but Black Widow going back to the Red Room, Thor going back to what the fuck is it called? Asgard. There you go.
Yeah.
Asgard, which is in flames. My whole thing was, what the fuck did she show Bruce Banner to get him all rageful like that?
That's a good question.
Like, I want to know what she showed him. And then, Hulk and Iron Man fight, and Iron Man's just punch him in the face, and he knocks, and like, you just see Hulk spit out a tooth, and you just look at Tony going, I'm sorry. But no, I really do like Age of Ultron. In some ways, I like it maybe a little bit more than the first Avengers.
Yeah. I mean, the first one was definitely that film that just set everything off, like in terms of team up movie and how it should be. Because you had other films to set the first Avengers film, but as time goes along, like we mentioned with Age of Ultron, even for its flaws, it has some charm, and definitely, with time, like, things age better with time when, talking about wine. But, I definitely, I can definitely say that while the first Avengers film will always be a classic, but you watch Age of Ultron, and I can say that it's, for different reasons, it's better slightly. But we wouldn't have Age of Ultron if, we didn't have the first Avengers film, as well as all the cast of heroes and villains. So yeah, it's like really nice. And I got to start playing again more Marvel Rivals, because that game is actually fun, especially when you have a full team and not playing solo. Like when you play by yourself, like you're just playing with randoms, it's like a toss up, definitely. So yeah, I gotta play a little more. I don't got no time, bro. Like when I start to realize that the only time I game is when I'm streaming, or when like I'm on the go and I like pull out like Clash of Clans. And yes, Clash of Clans is a game. It's an app, but it's a game though. It is a game though, but I don't know, I just haven't got the time to game, But hopefully with my schedule changing soon, I'll be able to have like more time, Lord willing. But yeah, I guess we can touch on the next topic, since it's a doozy. It's pretty heavy. Definitely a doozy. So for anyone that's been living under a rock, early this month, October 10th, September 10th, day before the 9/11 anniversary, the 24th anniversary of 9/11, I remembered where I was at during the 24th anniversary. Now, back in 2001, I was 11 years old and in school. I definitely remember being in school, and all the teachers were just like, we're getting taught in class, and then just suddenly like they just stop like teaching us. They stopped like teaching what they had in their lesson plans, and they just had us like in the class seated. All the teachers were like conversing with one another. Like we didn't know what was going on, but like we have nosy kids. I mean, they're still nosy as hell, but back in the day, I remember one of the kids telling us that like someone like bombed a building, and I was like, what? Like didn't understand. I was a little kid, and then I remember like each of the students, like parents came one by one and picked up their child from school, and I was like one of the last ones. My mom, she picked me up from school. We went home, and luckily we lived close. My apartment was near the school, so we didn't have to do a lot of walking. But she walked all the way from her job in South Brooklyn to where we're at in Brooklyn, where my school was at, because all the buses weren't working, the trains weren't working. It was chaos, and when I got home, I remember like I was able to see the Twin Towers like from the vicinity near my house. And then when I noticed like all the smoke, I was like, where the buildings at? And my mother said, they're gone. Like, they're gone. I'm like, why? And she didn't tell me right away. And I remember that day, I still think back, because I remember a year back, was it a year back or a few years back, I had went into Twin Towers due to like a case, like it was like a lawsuit that we had. And I went into Twin Towers. I forgot which floor, but it was pretty high up. And I was like, oh, it's so cool. Like, it's like Home Alone, because Home Alone, Kevin McAllister, when he got lost in New York and he went, around, and he went to the trade towers, and he was like on top of it, and he was taking photos, and that, I remember that, and I was like, damn, like, growing up, I'm glad to have went in the World Trade Center towers growing up when I was little. Now, like, all I have is a memory of that. So, yeah. And do you remember where you were at during 9/11, Drew?
I was 12, and I was in class. And all I can remember is that the teacher put on the news, and I just remember a bunch of, like, smoke coming down the streets. I'm like, is this here? It's like, no, it's in New York. And my brain thinking, like, is this going to come, like, to here? Like, is all that smoke going to come over here? Because I wasn't aware of the situation. And being half Persian, that was a fun time to be alive during.
Yeah.
But it just, I don't know, it's a tragedy. It's one of the biggest American tragedies, probably the biggest American tragedy. If you think about it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like it happened. It's one of those things that, like, it happened. How much more different would the world be if 9/11 didn't happen? Like, have you ever thought about stuff like that?
Oh yeah, bro. I think about that so many times. I think that's the reason why I have no hair in my head. But no, like, all jokes aside, I do think about that because, I do believe in fate. So when I think about, like, wow, like, imagine if I didn't, like, if this event at that time didn't happen, how life could have been. Like, what if I didn't, I'll get a little personal here. Like, I remember being, held back in elementary school, and because of that, I wasn't able to graduate. But I was able to, eventually, moved on to middle school, and that's where I found, I became friends with my best friend, and we're still best friends even after all this time. So imagine if I would have not, gotten held back in school, and I just, like, did everything. I probably wouldn't have known my best friend, and I wouldn't have, met all the people that he introduced me to, and, his family, his friends, and all that. So I think about that a lot. Like, what if, like, a big Marvel what if, but, in real life, like, what if the Matrix decided, to do things, or the Lord decided to, sway me in a different direction. So I always think about that. Like, I'm glad that for, we all have regrets, but I think about that, and I'm like, yeah, like, you know what? It's fine. Like, yeah, things could have worked out differently. Things could have worked out a little better, but at least I can say that it could be worse. And I'm glad that I've had the experiences that I had, and, done the things I've done, because in the day, like, you did them, you've met those people in your life one way or another, and it could have been way different. So I'm always, like, grateful. And especially in 9/11, like, I always think about, like, what if, like, but it's, definitely a heavy subject. But what's even heavier, what happened on September 10th, early this month, on the eve of the anniversary of, September 11th. And for those who have been living under a rock, Charlie Kirk, he was at a university in Utah, and he's a right-wing, commentator, influencer. He debates. He goes and does debates with college students, and just, he has a venue, like, hey, like, let's talk. And for all his faults, because he wasn't perfect, no one's perfect, but all his faults, I did like that he was able to just sit down and talk to people, regardless what you think his views were, like him, don't like him, whatever. Like, he he did that. He put that venue, he set up a table and like, hey, like, let's talk, prove me wrong. And I saw him getting shot initially on X, and I thought that, whoa, like this just like I couldn't believe it, 'cause I was like, wait a minute, like yes, I could believe it because a lot of crazies out there, but just like, when you hear something, like you hear like a sentence and it's like, wait, that does not make any sense, like what is that? It kind of felt like that. It felt like a movie, and we're gonna get into why I felt like that, but just seeing that happen. And then initially when I got the notification through the Citizen app, I was like, wait, what? Went on Twitter, saw saw the video, and then I saw on different angles, and I was like, oh, like, so initially I was like, no way. And there was a lot of discourse. There were a lot of people that were celebrating, man getting, assassinated in front of thousands of people and millions of people for the world to see. And my whole thing is, regardless of someone's political views or religious views, like, no one deserves to die for their opinions, like, straight up. Like, there's people I don't like, or I don't agree with, but as human beings, we should be able to have that discourse. When it gets violent, it's like that's when it is gone too far. And there are people celebrating. I'm like, yo, what is going on? And not I don't know if you're a spiritual kind of guy. If you're not, it's cool. But I just felt heavy for like the past couple of weeks. It's felt like this weight, and I'm like, what is this feeling? And it's just so many, like, so much death, so much hate that I've been seeing for like the past couple of weeks, and it's like waning. And it's like, it's just not it's not normal. So before I get into this revelation of the fact that the world is a stage, initially I want to get your thoughts about Charlie Kirk being assassinated, just overall, before I get into the Nicolas Cage film and the correlation to the assassination. So what are your thoughts, Drew?
I mean, I'm at the point where I don't want to hear the name Charlie Kirk anymore, because it's been flooding my timeline, where, I mean, I don't think it's as bad as it was like the first few weeks, but I'll still see it. But to be honest, when I heard he died, I didn't even know who he was.
Yeah.
And everybody made it to be like he was like the second coming of Jesus, or like the next, big whomever. Again, I didn't know who he was. And then, from people whose opinions I usually trust, gave me a good insight on who he was. I'm just like, okay, I agree with you, where it's just like, nobody really deserves to be shot in the head unless you're like the most vile, awful human being in the entire world. But, as far as I know about this dude, he didn't like do anything heinous. I mean, he said some pretty heinous things, but as far as I know, he didn't like rape children, or he didn't like have like a sex dungeon or whatever. Like, he just said some pretty stupid and being awful things about black people, about women, about LGBTQ people, about Muslims. And, I'm Middle Eastern, so that kind of hits home for me. Again, I'm not trying to, this isn't me saying, I'm glad he's dead or he deserved to die. It's more just like, I don't feel bad that he's gone. But at the same time, it's like, the world we live in is just, it's an ugly place where you can easily just get shot in the neck or in the head or wherever There was another school shooting today in Detroit, I believe. And it's just, it makes me sad because without getting to, you got personal about you, I'm going to get personal about me. Like, this is probably one of many reasons why I don't want to have kids.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to bring them into this world. Like, the world is ugly.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. And, when you're a parent, you have to worry about, is somebody going to go to my kid's school and shoot everybody? Is some who doesn't even go to school, but who's just mentally unwell and angry and wants to take his anger out on someone.
Right.
It's like with Sandy Hook, like those kids, they weren't even beginning life. They were just like at like the first quarter of life, and they got killed like a week before Christmas.
Yeah.
For literally no fucking reason, because the guy was mentally unwell and he decided to kill a bunch of kids. Yeah. For someone like Charlie Kirk, who, again, I don't hate the guy and wish that he was, burning in hell or whatever, but it's just, again, I've said what I need to say about him, but it's more just like, nobody should die over opinions.
Yeah.
Nobody should die, whether... Yeah. No, I'm sorry. But I was saying, like, whether you agree with them or not, no matter how ignorant or idiotic they may seem, you shouldn't shoot somebody in the head or in the neck or just kill somebody in general over an opinion. Like, that's just how it is. And unfortunately, this, again, I don't want to get too political, but and this is kind of where it's going, but it's like, unfortunately, this is going to just make Trump even look even better. Like, you're going to have more sickos. We call the AEW fans sickos. The Trump supporters are the true sickos. And not to say that all Trump supporters are sickos, because I have friends who are Republicans, I have friends who are Trump supporters, and they are the complete opposite of what you think a Trump supporter is. I'm talking about the stereotypical, use your imagination of what a true Trump supporter is. Like, those are the sickos, the ones that do the whole, I'm not a racist, but I'm really a racist, and this is just going to give birth to even more Charlie Kirks, more Candace Owens, more Bill Maher's, maybe even more Trumps. So it feels like we're living in a bad movie that we saw, when we were young.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah. Well, we'll discuss something after the show, something that just came up. But yeah, like, definitely no one should die over an opinion. Like, if this were to happen to someone on the left, I'll still act the same way. Like, just denounce violence, disavow, because at the end of the day, the human experience, like, if everyone liked the same things and agree with everything, life will be pretty boring. And you got to have that discourse. Ideas need to be brought up and challenged, and how, like, intelligence is summed up based on how well you're able to articulate your argument. And for a lot of people that were celebrating, you can tell that they're not really intelligent and able to, their beliefs, they couldn't hold and battle and argue their beliefs. And in an age where there's so much division, we need to be able to, like, I believe, have conversation, have those uncomfortable conversations, because if we just sit and assume, if we sit and hate, and if the conversations stop happening, like, that's how relationships and that's how friendships and that's how violence starts. That's how countries get, taken over. That's how war starts. So, above all else, like, regardless how you feel, regardless of, and I try to get my opinions from like different sources, and then just use just common sense, just use just logic. Like, does this make sense logically? Because we can feel however we want to feel. That's a given. But a lot of times we tend to think, and I'm guilty of this too, we tend to think with just our emotions, and we let our emotions guide us to wherever, and a lot of times it can end up, jumping off a cliff, and we don't want that. And I just believe in having dialogue. I just believe in having, conversations, and if we can at least share common ground, cool. And I think that there's so many things working against us to have that type of dialogue, and it's just gotta keep fighting, gotta keep arguing, gotta get violent, gotta kill, gotta threaten. Like, it's like, there really are people out there trying to fan the flames of hate, and I'm not for that. Like, you can agree, disagree, but at the end of the day, we're all human beings, and no one should die because of our opinions are. But if you harm children, if you diddle children, you hurt them, you abuse animals, old people, if you scam people, that's another story. But just having an opinion, you don't deserve to die. So to close this out, so like we mentioned, on September 10th, 2025, Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And there's been a lot of stuff out, like the official narrative's like crumbling because there's so much shit that's been coming out. Like, I don't know what to believe, because it just feels like a whole JFK situation. And we know the whole JFK, assassination, there's so much stuff that has come out since then. But one of the things that I saw that was interesting, because we here in Culture Attack love Nicolas Cage, phenomenal actor, Face Off, one of my favorite films, Gone in 60 Seconds, and a few others, like those are his older films, but even a lot of his new stuff that I enjoyed. But he starred in a movie called Snake Eyes, a 1988 film. I'm gonna read the Wikipedia here really quickly. Snake Eyes is a 1998 American mystery thriller film directed and produced by Brian De Palma. The film starts Nicolas Cage as a detective investigating a political assassination at a boxing match in Atlantic City. And let's see, we'll get into a bit of synopsis. Okay. During a tropical storm named Jezebel, corrupt and flamboyant Atlantic City police detective that's played by Nicolas Cage attends a boxing match at a soon-to-close local arena between heavyweight champion Lincoln Tyler, remember that name, and challenger Jose Pacifico Ruiz. He meets up with his best friend since childhood, a U.S. Navy commander, Kevin Dunn, who is working with the Department of Defense to escort Defense Secretary Charles Kirkland and an area director, Gilbert Powell, at the end of the trip to Norfolk, Virginia. As the first round begins, Kevin is distracted by an attractive redhead who wears a ruby ring and leaves his seat, which he is taken by Julia Costello, a mysterious woman with blonde hair and a white satin suit, while Ruiz unexpectedly knocks out Tyler. Gunshots ring out, mortally wounding Kirkland and grazing Julia, who loses her glasses and a blonde wig, revealing her natural dark hair. Kevin kills a sniper and orders the arena to be locked down. Despite the lockdown, Julia escapes the casino, blah, 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 blah. So, and all that synopsis, So you heard the name Lincoln Tyler, which is the boxer. He is called, his moniker is the Atlantic City Assassin. And the shooter that shot Charlie Kirk, his name is, he's still alive, Tyler Robinson. And the defense secretary that got shot and killed in the neck, by the way, Charles Kirkland. And, you know, in Atlantic City, Trump, you know, he owns, you know, a few buildings over there in Atlantic City. And the date that happened in the film was September 10th, the same day that Charlie Kirk got assassinated. So when I saw this, I was like, wait a minute, this cannot be a coincidence. So you have the boxer who is named Tyler the Assassin, or the Atlantic City Assassin. You have the defense secretary Charles Kirkland, who gets assassinated. You know, it's shot in the neck. And it takes place in Atlantic City on September 10th. And mind you, this film was made in 1998. And, you know, when films get you know, the script written out, more likely the script for the film was written in probably 1985, you know, 1994, give or take. So this film was basically, you know, made in the 90s, essentially. So many years later, this assassination happens, and then this film has parallels to the person got shot and, you know, the boxer that's in the ring. So this, when I saw this, I was like, wow, like I was like, okay, I'm done. We're definitely in the Matrix. We're definitely living in a simulation, because it's too much of a coincidence. And with media, they like to program people, you know, deep in their subconscious, and then when something happens, right, you go back and like, oh wait, didn't this happen in a film or a TV show many years ago? Like, it's the same playbook that, you know, powers that be do. And I know with this whole thing with Charlie Kirk, and we'll end it here, there's a lot more to this. I'm just gonna say, I can't say it here. There's a lot more to this, and there's some things I'm like mortified of, and I'm at a point where, like, yeah, we're definitely in a simulation, bro. But I'm just overall, I'm just so drained. Just all this stuff going on in the past month alone, like I'm just done. Just if I could sell all my shit, live in the mountains, because I don't know, like I just, like, something doesn't feel right with all this. And hearing this correlation, I was like, yeah, I'm just live my life, you know, try to get my shit together and move to the mountains or something, because I'm just, like, done. I know how you feel. You probably feel the same way.
Yep.
Yeah. Just move to the mountains. Yeah.
If I can find a cabin with a working internet, running water, and electricity.
Yeah.
And I'm just away from people, no neighbors, no kids, nothing, and just me and my cats and Betty. That's all I need.
Starlink.
That's
Starlink,
literally,
bro. You know.
I get what?
Starlink. It's internet. Elon Musk. That's Elon Musk's tech. You can get internet like anywhere, like even in a rural area. and it's like what I saw is pretty affordable. Like if you have all your stuff together, and it works like if you're like in an RV too, or like hiking and set it up. Like it's which I mean we'll talk after the show because there's some stuff I can't talk about. But yeah, it's just with everything that's going on. Like our first instinct is just to I don't want to say hide, but just retreat. But I don't know, like just. I don't know if you're spiritual, but I'm just like something in my bones is telling me like something is gonna happen. Sun, like fishy. Shit's gonna go down, and like you could just like feel it in your bones, But yeah, I don't want to. I mean, it's kind of like a sour note to end the show, but we're gonna try and do another show. I don't know when you want to do the next show. Like, if you want to do it this coming Sunday or the following, we can definitely do it. If there's not any pay-per-views,
Sunday won't work. Next Sunday for me won't work.
Okay.
Because I won't be available. I'll keep you posted.
Okay.
So like, what's a good day?
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, but we'll definitely have a show. We're gonna try and do the shows more often again because a lot of stuff is going on, and I love talking to Drew. And see, we don't agree on everything. We don't agree. That doesn't mean I want to have him harmed because I'm
do you?
No, because why would I? What? I guess I'm just too logical. It's just the Capricorn in me. Like, why would I do that? Like, I got someone who disagreed with me. Like, what does that do? Like, I realize that there's just a lot of, I'm sorry to say, just a lot of retarded people out there, and they cannot hold any sort of conversation. And when it comes to a lot of things, like they cannot articulate their point because they heard it from someone else, which they got told that thing. So it's not their original thought. Like a lot of the people that walking around, like they don't have an original thought in their body. Nothing original is about them. And when it comes to sharing ideas, it's just like, can you articulate? Can you explain why? A lot of times they can't. So that's the other reason why, like, you need to know when to pick your battles, especially, in this type of, conversation. But yeah, it's just something, someone wise told me many, many years ago, just pick your battles. You pick your battles. That being said, our next show, like, stay tuned. We'll let you know when we'll make another show. And as far as this one is concerned, we'll have it out. I have it out by tomorrow evening, at the latest. And Drew, where can people find you?
They can find me on The Experience, which is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Central Time, 10 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. Just look up Drew Yari or the Drew Yari Experience and subscribe. It's free. You get the live shows with me and Justin every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Central Time. You also get Friendly Neighborhood Marks with me and RJ, the Brooklyn Savage, which we just had a new one recently. And last night, me, Jeff Lippman, and RJ covered NXT No Mercy. So look for that. It was a fun show. And also these shows with Ruben, Culture Attack, which we will be trying to get them out more often. And they're fun shows. I have fun doing these shows. It's usually non-wrestling related, but if something wrestling related seems to catch eye, then we have no choice but to talk about. The Experience is more wrestling related. The Friendly Neighborhood Marks with me and RJ is like half and half, where we talk about movies, like, anything Marvel or DC related, and also wrestling. We like to mix in wrestling. And And Twitter X, DY Experience, Instagram, Drew Yari. I have a Facebook page, which I don't really use all that much, but I probably should. And TikTok, which is where I post the stories, or not stories, shorts for the episodes I do, and I actually get more views on there than like YouTube.
Yeah.
So follow me on there, and that's about it, people.
Yeah, do the things, guys. Follow all the socials. Consume. No, okay, but definitely check out all of Drew Yari's socials. Check out his Wednesday show. I was on his show last week, filling in for Justin. I had fun being on his.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, like got to do it again. Definitely got to do it again with Crown Jewel coming up. We'll definitely do that. And I got to see, funny enough, No Mercy last night, which was pretty good. Like, I'm enjoying more of the NXT pay-per-views than I am, PLEs, more than the WWE main roster pay-per-views. Like, that's like, you have a developmental brand, like, doing better than the main roster. And it's like, Shawn Michaels, again, I mean, he was the better superstar. You know, no disrespect to Triple H, but that goes without saying. That goes without saying. But yeah, definitely check him out. You know, definitely check out all his socials. Check out his wrestling podcast, The Experience, on Discord. You know, it's free to join, and you, as well as his YouTube. Definitely subscribe, and TikTok if you're more of a TikToker, definitely check that out. And as for me, Twitter or X, Mr. Ruben Prime, YouTube, same, Mr. Ruben Prime TV, I should say. And for the channel, Culture Attack on YouTube, and as well as TikTok, if you want to check it out. I got to start posting content again on there, so definitely be on the lookout for that, and follow me on Twitch as well at Ruben Prime TV on Twitch. Trying to get back into streaming again, and we got some games coming out, so definitely follow for that. So yeah, without overstaying our welcome, because it's definitely overstayed our welcome, but it's fine. For myself and Drew Yari, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Culture Attack, and we'll be back, Lord willing, to, of course, gotta attack the culture. Peace, guys. Peace.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
Peace.